For the first time in his 8 years of living, my dog got an ear infection. And I will say that I have been fortunate. I also think being fortunate has been the result of being so intentional in his care. I don't want to talk about what I did when he got an ear infection because I didn't use ear medications. I didn't use conventional treatment. If this is the first episode you're listening to, maybe you're on Spotify, maybe you're on Apple Podcasts, maybe you're watching this on YouTube, it is so nice to connect with you. I am Dr. Bamonte, a veterinarian of over a decade, and the last few years have really been aligning my practice, not only how I practice, but my practice in an integrative, holistic approach. And when my own dog got his first ear infection, I was like, I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm going to walk the walk with what and how I guide my clients and my patients. So a little backstory. So I'm very fortunate that overall my dog has been relatively healthy. He's had diarrhea once in his life for not even 10 or 12 hours, which was following after his second dental cleaning. His first dental cleaning was, I think he was 6 years old. And I'm attributing it to a result of the anesthesia. Could it have been something cumulative and the anesthesia is what set it off? Very possible. I supported him without metronidazole for his diarrhea and it resolved the same day that he had it. And it was like squirty fire hydrant poops. I've been really intentional. I think maybe he's had antibiotics once for like 2 days. I've been very cognizant of the medications I put into him and supporting him in ways to hopefully prevent the medication need, while also when things pop up, how can I help support him now with getting over whatever he is dealing with, but also thinking about his health in the future so this doesn't become a repeated cycle, or what I hear pet parents say, I don't know why all of a sudden this is happening. I don't know, nothing, quote unquote, nothing has changed. I don't understand why. And so back in November, if you have been a loyal listener or a loyal watcher, you have heard me talk about that I did functional tests on my dog, found out he had mold exposure, and kind of thought nothing of it. And the reason for that is I see a functional doctor myself, a concierge doctor. And after seeing them for a few years, the topic of testing myself for mold came up. Tested myself, tried to detox, had a really hard time detoxing. I stopped, and then we revisited it end of last year, end of 2025, and my levels went up. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And when I tested my own dog, he had mold exposure, very similar types of mold exposure. I was like, well, this is very interesting, but I've never tested him before to know what have his levels been. So I detoxed him thinking, well, it's very possible I have other exposures than him because he doesn't really leave the house other than I walk him, but he's not going to a lot of different facilities unlike me. I'm going to people's homes. I'm going to various different hospitals sometimes. So I am just very dynamic in my environments. I detoxed him, retested him, and his levels went up. And so found the source of mold, was in my master bedroom, had it remediated. And when I say found the source, had a mold company come because there was no signs at all in the bedroom, no smells, no visual signs, nothing. And so I'm now at the end of detoxing him the second time. And during this detox, I think it's very likely the reason he got the ear infection is he was actually detoxing. And I'm not saying that if your pet is detoxing from heavy metals or mold exposure or heavy metal exposure or glyphosate exposure that your pet is going to have signs of detoxing, that they're going to get infections or they're going to have poop issues. It's possible they may not, but it's also possible they might. It just depends on how their body responds. No two pets are the same. Their bodies are very fluid. And so when I started detoxing again this time, it was a few weeks into the detoxing, probably about 3 weeks, that his left ear, I noticed just I don't even know how I noticed, probably because I am always rubbing him and looking at him and loving on him. He's got floppy ears, so they're not standing up where it was easy to see. He wasn't really shaking. He wasn't scratching. There wasn't really an odor unless I went really, really close to the ear. And I happened to see his ear. I was like, ooh, you actually have debris in your ears. You never, ever. I mean, his ear canals are pristine. And he doesn't have crazy extra hair. And I was like, ooh, that's odd. So I wiped it and I was like, all right, let me keep an eye on it for like a day. Let me just see. And then I realized, okay, I think I was maybe in denial then because he's never had an ear infection. He's never had a skin infection. He's had mild allergies in the past when the pollen's been really bad. I also know more now than I knew back then. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do what I encourage my pet parents to do, or pet parents that don't feel aligned with traditional and conventional care for managing conditions, or they're frustrated that their pet has ongoing ear issues or ongoing skin issues and they want to get to the root of it. And so I started treating him with ozone topically in his ear. I did that for about a week, and then I added in red light laser. And ironically, around the same time, this was not the reason, but it was a good motivator. I started supporting his gut even more during his detox to help support him. And so I didn't want to go the route of conventional ear meds. Not that, no other reason than I just didn't feel aligned with it, because his ears, your pet's ears, their gut, their gallbladder, their bladder, so many of their organs have a natural flora of community of bacteria and yeast that live there, that are we want there. They're part of like the regulation. They keep everything, they keep the barriers healthy and happy. And so I knew that if I used conventional meds, that there was a possibility, again, because I have no way to predict the future, there was a possibility that I was going to disrupt that community that was there. And what I didn't want, because he had never had ear infections previously, I didn't want this to become a repeated cycle. Now, I'm not saying that if I would have done conventional ear meds that I would have opened him up to that possibility, but I knew that that was a chance. And so I started treating him with ozone eardrops. And the nice thing is it's not every day. And I was starting to see an improvement. And I will be honest, at one point I don't know if frustrated is the right word, but I was feeling at about a week in, I think it was like day 8 of me discovering the ear issue and started treating it, that I was like, am I going to need to? And I'm like, I know that that would be the quick fix, but is that the long-term fix? And I was like, no, you're going to stick with this. You're going to stick with this just like you encourage your pet parents to do for their pets and your patients. And I stuck with it. And I started using a laser red light on it as well to encourage the healing process, get that blood flow going, and saw an improvement with that as well. In about a week and a half of treatment, it was about a week and a half, a little bit prior to a week and a half, somewhere around there, that I was like, oh, things are looking good. And I will be honest, I backed off a little bit. And then when I looked at it 2 days later, I was like, ooh, I feel like you're just a little bit, you're not as gooky as when I first noticed it, but you are more gooky and like ear debris than I'd like. And so I stayed on it, and I'm happy to say his ear infection is completely gone. The debris is gone. The redness is gone. I'm very fortunate he was not excessively shaking his head. He wasn't excessively scratching. There wasn't a horrible odor that when you walked in the room, you're like, oh my gosh, because have you had those patients if you're in the veterinary industry, or maybe you have that pet yourself that you like walk into a room, or maybe you're gone for a little bit from your pet and you walk back and you're like, you smell like a bag of Fritos is what you smell like. And it was really affirming to me, because I have a pet, so sometimes I have to walk through these journeys too, just like you do, that there is a place for this. It sometimes takes a little bit more patience, and I think that is the unintentional speed bump when it comes to traditional and conventional care, is that it can be a quick fix. And sometimes, listen, maybe you're listening to this and you're like, my pet had an ear infection, I used conventional meds, that was 4 years ago and they've never had an ear infection again. It's possible. I've seen it happen. I've seen it in patient records quite a bit. I just knew that I wanted to feel aligned and I wanted to feel authentic. I'm like, here I am recommending it to my clients for their pets, my patients, and I'm going to go around and just pull a conventional medication off the shelf and treat it to just be quick about it. Now, I think there's a time and a place for traditional and conventional care, especially in urgent cases when pets are very uncomfortable. We have to keep their comfort at a decent level. That is very, very important for their healing as well, and their nervous system regulation and their happiness and their comfortability, and yours as well. There's a time and a place for it. And I felt like an extra few days to have a long-term support of his ear health was worth it to me. And I really wish I did take some pictures. They weren't the best. And I wish that when I say that they weren't the best, I feel like the camera was not picking up the quality of his ear. Now, in terms of ear infections and what I've seen in patients, it was not bad at all. In fact, I could see how a lot of pet parents probably would have missed it. I also know my dog very, very well, and I knew that was abnormal for him to have ear debris. That's not normal for him to have quote unquote wax in his ears. And I feel even more rooted in the recommendations that I make because of this. I feel even more rooted in this alignment. I feel even more rooted in helping pet parents like you that maybe you don't feel aligned with conventional, or conventional just isn't hitting it anymore. And this is where I want to invite you. If you're like, this is what I want for my pet, it's either, again, because it's been ongoing, or the one quote unquote flare up that happens, and you're like, I'm normally a minimalistic person when it comes to medicine. If you are local to the Tampa Bay area in Florida, I would love to invite you to schedule your one-on-one holistic in-home visit. You and I together will spend an hour directly together, not 30 minutes with one of my team members and 20 minutes with me or 10 minutes with me. It is an hour directly with me. And what's really nice is before we meet, I have a very intentional form that you fill out. So when I show up, I already have an idea about you and your pet. I confirm that all the information is accurate, but we dive right into that hour, and I get to see your pet and their environment, which is also really helpful as well. I may pick up on things that you're not picking up on. If you're like, I love this, but I'm not local in Tampa Bay area in Florida, then I want to invite you to schedule your one-on-one nutrition lifestyle consultation, where we will discuss, of course, your pet's nutrition, because that is such an important part of their life and the care that you give them. It is the one thing that you do for them every single day, whether it is rainy, whether it is cold, whether it is windy, whether it is dry, whether it is sunny, whether they are 4 years old or 14 years old. It is the one thing you do for them, whether they're a dog, a cat, the only pet in the household, or one of 5. Whether you are traveling, whether you have someone pet sitting. And so it is such a big part of their health span and their life span that you can influence. And these are things that we can talk about. Of course, virtually, there's a limit to how I can support you, but at least having that person to help guide you, and maybe we can together find someone local to you that operates very similar to me in services and diagnostics and supportive care that they offer. And I wish I would have taken more pictures and videos. Again, I don't feel like it really captured it. Have you ever taken a picture of something and you're sending a picture to someone, you're like, I swear the shirt looks more blue than that, or it doesn't look that blue. Sometimes the cameras don't really capture it. And I wish I would have had more to really show the before and after of doing this and slowing down and being intentional, and how now going forward, I feel so much more confident that I'm not only that I take care of what was going on right now, but I'm also thinking about him in the future with his health. And I'm really interested to see when I retest him for his mold exposure, now that we've remediated it and I'm supporting his gut. That was something else I started doing during the process, because the gut is a major detox pathway as well, just like their fur, the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, and supporting that pathway for him. So that way I am also, again, I'm not just taking care of the mold now, but I'm also thinking about his future health and how I can help preserve it for him. Because I think very commonly, traditionally, conventionally, we think about the right now. We think about what could have caused this right now. We think about, well, let's just treat this right now. But it's like, but let's think about their health 3, 6, 12, 18, 24, 36, 48 months from now. Because what we're doing now can absolutely affect their health in the future, can absolutely affect their happiness, their lifespan, and their health span.